Let's take a look at some players who are playing above their heads, who are really slumping at the moment. Can they turn it around? Michael Bolton, it's time.
Thanks, Josh. It's Michael Bolton here, and it's time for another episode of the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast. Let's get to it.
Let's get to it, indeed.
You are Locked On Fantasy Basketball, your daily fantasy basketball podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network.
Hello and welcome to the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast, brought to you by Basketball Monster. My name is Josh Lloyd, and it's true, John Cena was partaking in an Illuminati initiation ritual. Mine is on Thursday. I'm also the lead fantasy analyst at basketballmonster.com, and you can find me on Twitter as always at redrock_bball, on TikTok at redrock_bball, and on Instagram at Locked On Fantasy Basketball. Today's episode is brought to you by PrizePicks, the easiest and the most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNBA and use the code all lowercase LockedOnNBA for a first deposit match up to $100. Thank you also for making Locked On Fantasy Basketball your first listen every day. We are free. We're available on all platforms. The double bangers are here. Good to see you guys. Hit the thumbs up, the subscribe button, the bell, the comments, blah, 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 and blah. Now, try to use different terminology here in terms of this is the usual spot for buy low, sell high shows. So, because I know somebody's going to do this. They do it all the time. There'll be someone saying, hey, hasn't y'all's trade deadline already passed? Or to be, use a different accent so I don't appear, accent phobic. Hey, come here, trade deals to gone. You guys doing trades? Taco League. Yeah, cool. Who cares? What we're looking at here is players who are playing well above what they should be doing, players who are absolutely slumping and maybe killing you in the fantasy playoffs, and the ways that we can see them going up and down. And you know that the guys that we highlight on these shows, we've got a really good track record of those things coming to fruition. So we're going to look at 5 guys who are flying, 5 guys who are hitting the ground and struggling, and seeing if they turn it around. We all make sense with that. Not about trades. Buy low, sell high. I'm not going to even call it buy low, sell high. Last time I say those words, because not about trades, even though this graphic's going to say buy low, sell high. That is coming up right now, but that's fine. Let's look back at how it went 2 weeks ago. Again, to check the bona fides. This was an okay week. It wasn't the best week that we've had. It wasn't bad. Isaiah Hartenstein, man, he was on the buy low. He was 131st. And since then, he was 130th. So it's the smallest W you could possibly have. We don't count that. Mikal Bridges was 125th. He's 108th since then. I think he's still going to get better than this. Nick Claxton was 117th. He was 77th since then. W. Brandon Ingram was 84th. He's now moved to 34th. W. And the clear L here is Toby Harris, who was 95th and moved to 106th. And he has been putrid. And I have been anti-Tobias Harris for fantasy for the last few years. And last season, he had like career best steal numbers and made my fading of him look wrong. And this season, he started out really hot. But now that he's had the opportunity with guys out to really step up, he's been dreadful. Like, he has been the exact sort of player that I sort of thought he would, the 100th best player. And it's been really frustrating to see that occur at this point and still not getting better. L to you, Toby. What about on the other side of things, the sell highs? Well, these ones worked out pretty damn well. Jalen Brunson was 12th, and I said, yes, we want to sell high on him. He is 220th since then. That is in per game value. In one of those games, yes, he did leave early. He still averaged 28 minutes a night over this time, but it's not just those minutes. It's just that he hasn't played well at all during this time frame. Tyus Jones was 40th. He's moved to 81st. Johnny Collins was 43rd. He moved to 52nd. So that's not a big drop, but it's something there. Herb Jones was 45th. He moved to 91st. And the big sneeze, Precious Achiuwa, moved from 52nd to 82nd, and nobody has come back yet. Now, OG Anunoby is going to come back today, and we're going to see Precious fall even further, is my belief. That doesn't mean you need to drop Precious right now. I just have, and I said this when we did this show 2 weeks ago, that there will be a stage that comes when you do drop Precious. He will not maintain 12-team value, I don't believe. So let's look at 5 guys who are struggling at the moment, where there are some indicators that stuff is going to turn around. We'll start in Milwaukee. We'll go to Brook Lopez, who's 194th over the last 2 weeks in -1, 186th in fantasy points, averaging just 20 a game. He's at 8 points a game, 3.7 rebounds, 1.6 assists, hitting almost 2 threes with 1.4 blocks. It's been a roller coaster season from Lopez, who was bad, then unbelievable, and now bad again. He's shooting only 41% from the field. He's hitting 46% from 3 and 70 from the line. So what's going wrong here? Can't hit a 2. 31% from 2-point range over the last 2 weeks. This is a gigantic difference. 61% for the season. I don't want to sit here and tell you that Brook Lopez is a 61% 2-point shooter because he might not be. He could be. He was 64 last year. But I'm also pretty confident he's not a 30% guy. Over the last 12 games, he's at 46 from 2. It's been a gigantic drop-off for him in that area. But the other thing that's really troubling is usage. And is this Glenn Rivers? He's running at 15.7 usage for the season. He was at 18.9 usage last season, and we did think that there would be a drop in his usage this season because we foolishly thought, well, Lillard coming across, but also, hey, we got a full season of Chris Middleton. Oh, okay, we don't, but Lillard coming across. But he's at 15.7 for the year, Lopez, but recently he's just not touching it. 11.5 usage in 7 games. That's just nothing. And that has been, it seemed like we're getting more Bobby Portis, more Leaky Beasley, Lillard and Giannis getting there, and Lopez isn't touching it. So I'm a little worried that usage does not hit back to 15, maybe it hits to 13. But I don't think that 31% 2-point numbers are going to be a realistic thing. He also could drop the threes because he's hitting 46% of them, so that could fall back down. But there are some clear things here. Also, his free throws at 70% when he's at 83 for the season. He was at 78 last year, 87 the year before that. Like, that's going to jump up from 70. So Lopez, even though it's been a struggle, and if I'm in a points league, I would consider him a drop if the schedule made sense because he's not a strong points league guy. But there are some pretty clear indicators, usage, 2-point percentage, free throw percentage, that are going to be able to jump up and have a little bit more value as we move forward. Let's go to New Orleans. CJ McCollum, a guy like Tobias Harris, who I was down on, and then started out this season just doing stuff that he'd never done before. Blocking shots, getting steals, the things that the man has never done in his life. And now we are seeing things come back to normal, and he's actually really struggling. He's 157th in -1 over the last 2 weeks, 196th on Yahoo, 124th in points leagues. Over the last month, in fact, the last 2 months, he's outside the top 100. The thing is that he started the season with a top 40 run, which has bumped all of his numbers up. The last 2 months, not good. 15.6 points, 4.4 rebounds, and 2.4 assists only. 3.2 triples is nice, but where have the defensive numbers gone? Oh yeah, because that stuff was all fluky. It was not real, it was fake. 0.4 steals and 0.6 blocks over the last 2 weeks. He's hitting 42 from the field, 42 from 3, and 67 from the line. The free throws from this man have been up and down for years. He's at 79 this season, but he was at 77 last season and 68 the year before that. And now we're fluctuating down to 67. And the 42 field goals are bad, but he's also hitting 42 from 2. That's a really low number. Now, I don't expect him to be awesome from 2, but he's at 50% from 2 this season. He was at 47 last season. So even if he goes back to that 48 zone, it's got to be better than what it currently is. He's also running at 42 from 3, so that could fall off. That's a worry. But also, they've taken the ball out of his hands a little bit. 2.4 assists per game in his last 5. He's at 4.4 for the season. We are seeing more Zion at point guard. That number has continued to come down. But I don't imagine he's staying as the team's starting point guard at under 2.5 assists per game, shooting 42% from 2. I just don't think those numbers are things that we can realistically expect from CJ. So while I am maybe a CJ hater, again, as some people think that I am, these numbers he's putting up now are more in line with the drop-off that I thought he would have this season, or the production that I thought he would have. But there is also some pretty significant indicators that he's going to be able to be better than this and improve from here and take some steps forward. We hope that he's able to take some of these steps forward because, it's not good at the moment. As I hit the button and it doesn't work. There we go. Today's episode is brought to you by eBay Motors. Passion, drive, and patience. That's what brings home the winning trophy. It's also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything that you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. From superchargers and roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has got you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber and not cash. With all of the parts that you need at the prices you want, it is easy to turn your car into the MVP and bring home that win. So keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit is only available to US customers. Okay, let's go on to some other buy low and sell high options. And we're going to go to Miami because this man is, to say that he is struggling at the moment, I would say is a pretty significant understatement. Idris Adebayo, Bam Bam, it's been bad. Bam is 128th over the last 2 weeks in -1 rankings. He's 174th on Yahoo. He's down to 55th on Yahoo points. He's averaging 15.9 points with 9.5 boards, 2.9 assists, and those assist numbers, remember when they used to be at like 5 a couple of years ago? Well, they're obviously nowhere near that. He's 0.7 blocks and 1.1 steals. He's never a blocks guy as a center. He's hitting 46 from the field as a big man and 60 from the line. 60.5 from the line is terrible. He's a 76% guy this season from the free throw line, and he is just murdering you in that area. In fact, I believe over the last week, he's at 50%, I think, from the line. Let me double check that because it's really bad. 52.4 in the last 4 games from the free throw line. 76 for the season. He was at 81 last season, 75 the year before that, 80 the year before that. So the 76 is even down, but it's been getting worse and worse and worse all the way we go through. 73 over the last 27 games. 71 over the last 12 games. It's bad. And why can't he hit twos? This man is a center. What's going on? The last 3 seasons, 57, 56, 54 from 2-point range. Going down every year. This season, 52. The last 2 weeks, 47. How are you a center? I know people love Bam. They talk about how great he is and all this sort of stuff. But I would say that recently his production has been very disappointing. No free throws. Bad finishing, doesn't hit threes, no blocking, assist numbers are way down. Everything is slumping. But, again, I don't expect him to be this bad. There's quite a bit of stuff here that is going to improve from Adebayo. That 2-point percentage, the free throw percentage, even the assist rate can jump up. He's just in a disgustingly bad slump, and I think it's going to improve. I would imagine it improves. Let's go to Charlotte. Talked about this quite a few times during the last week or so, saying Brandon Miller's numbers are fine, but there's just something feels off. What's off? What's going on? Why does it feel like he's just sort of stagnating? With ball out and the ability of him playing a ton of minutes, he should be really elevating. And we saw after the trade deadline that he just, when Rozier got moved, he just went crazy. And I was like, this feels fake to a degree. There was going to be a drop-off because these percentages aren't realistic. And that's been true. Like, he can't keep it up. He's only 119th over the last 2 weeks, which is basically like the exact spot he's been all season. He's at 33 fantasy points, which is 77th. He's averaging 20 points a game with 6 rebounds. They're good numbers, Josh. They're fine. 2.7 assists, 2.7 dribbles, 0.4 steals, and 0.4 blocks. So there you go. That's a little worrying. Quite low defensive numbers. He's shooting 44 from the field, 33 from 3, and 75 from the line. They're all very, very mid to below average percentages. He's at 53 true shooting, which is well below league average. The steals, he's at 0.9 for the season, but he's at, look, I said, he's at 0.9 for the season, so I wrote 1.1 there, but he's at 0.4 at the moment, so that's obviously a big dip down. He's got an ability to double those steal numbers very comfortably. So that's an easy way to jump back up the rankings. He's also only at 75% from the line when he's been at 82 all season, and I believe he's an 80-plus guy. I am not convinced that he's this elite efficiency player. His 2-point percentage for the year is under 50. Now, that has improved. He's up to 53 at the moment. His 3-pointers are at 37 for the season, but as more usage has been given to him, those numbers have come down, so he's struggled with the extra load, giggity. So he's at 33% over this period. But the free throws, I'm convinced, will come up. The steals should come up. The scoring is really good, but it's a little red flaggy just in terms of, I know everyone's very excited about what Miller is bringing, but at the moment when the usage is up, he is suffering some stuff. Now, I do think that obviously he's a first-year player, and in years to come, there will be some increases here. But also remember that he was a sub-50% 2-point guy in college as well, and he was a good 3-point shooter, not the giganticest volume guy. He was a good 3-point shooter. He's not getting to the line either much at all. And this can all improve and all should improve, but he's been, you look at 20 ago, he's averaging 20 a game, that's great. He's just been mid for fantasy. Fine to roster, but mid across many different areas. Remember that, especially with everybody out. I'm going to throw Kyrie Irving on here as well. Kyrie, this is not to say you go and trade for him because we're not talking about that. They've got 2 games next week, week 21. That's bad, clearly. There's just a couple of things that are off here with Kyrie. He's 58th over the last 2 weeks, 19th on Yahoo. That uses total numbers, and he's played 8 games, which is more than anybody else. 35 fantasy points a game, which is 57th. That's not the Kyrie we expect, yes? No, it's not. 23 points, 4 rebounds, 3 assists, with 3 threes, 0.9 steals, and 0.5 blocks. So you can already see the issue there. 47 from the field, 40 from 3, hasn't missed a free throw. But his assists have disappeared, and you'll say, well, that's because Luka's there. Well, Luka's been there all season. And we had some worries about Kyrie heading into this year about what his assists would look like playing next to Luka, and would Luka lose some? Well, Luka hasn't. Luka's actually gained assists, but that's killing Kyrie. He's at 4.9 assists for the season, but we're talking 2 assists less over the last 2 weeks. That's a little worrying. 3.1 assists versus 4.9 for the season. He also can't hit his 2s, and that I'm not worried about. Kyrie has been a legendary sort of finisher most of his career. 57 last season. It was the weird year in Brooklyn where he only played 20 games or whatever, had 50%, not worried about that one. 56 the year before that. He's at 53 this season, but he's at 51 at the moment. Now, I put last year's number there at 57 just because when we're talking about, hey, can something happen in a short period of time here to really boost someone's numbers? It shows you that Kyrie has got a history of being an elite finisher. So he can really jump that number up pretty considerably over a period of time. I am a little worried about the assists. I'm a little worried about the overall production. But I do think that finishing number will be able to jump up. He's had a couple of games recently which just haven't quite been good, especially his last one against Chicago, where it was a limited game because of minutes and blowouts, but only shot 43%, and 3 of his last 4 games have been under 50% shooting overall. And that's just not what you usually get out of Kyrie. He's usually a very highly efficient player as a guard. And I just think there is going to be a step forward coming. Let's go to the other side of the tracks. Let's go to the sell highs, the guys who are overperforming. This man, DeAndre Ayton, he came back from the hand injury, didn't know that he would come back necessarily. One of these games was before the hand injury, actually, but has put up ridiculous numbers. He's 11th in -1 rankings over that period. 11th per game. 150th on Yahoo because he's been out, but 17th in fantasy points, averaging 21 and 15. With 1.3 assists, with 1.3 steals, and 0.7 blocks. Shooting 59 from the field and hasn't missed a free throw, of course. How many free throws has he taken during that time? 2. Because he doesn't take free throws ever, so we can ignore that part. But the thing that's very interesting to me is the usage. 28.3% usage. 28.3. Simons has played those games. Jeremy Grant has played 2 of those games. Scoot has played 2 of those games. Brogdon hasn't, but 28.3 usage is gigantic. He's at 19 for the season. His usage last season was 22. The year before that, it was 22. Now, he had been taking a little bit more in terms of shots, but 28 usage is a ridiculous number. And I don't think that this team will just continue to pump that into him. He's not getting free throws. He's just taking 1 million field goal attempts. He's taken 44 field goals, 44 over the last 2 games. That doesn't feel like it's a realistic thing. The games before he got hurt, 9, 16, 17, 5, 12, 18. The next 2, 25 and 19. With Simons in both of them, with Scoot in both of them. With shot-chucking legend Delano Banton in both of them. And Grant in one of them. He's also averaging 15 rebounds. Now, he's at 10.9 for the season. It's not minutes. He's actually playing 1.3 fewer minutes in the last 3 games versus his season average. He's just inhaling everything. And he is a good rebounder. We know this. It's probably not that level of rebounder. So there is just going to... This is only a small sample size, and I don't think he's going to play out the season. But these are huge numbers. Enjoy it. Just understand that this is not going to carry you through the playoffs, I don't think, at that sort of level. Today's episode is brought to you by PrizePicks. PrizePicks is America's #1 fantasy sports app with over 3 million members. It's also the easiest and the most exciting way to play DFS. It is just you against the numbers. You pick more than or less than on 2 to 6 individual player stat projections and you watch the winnings roll in. Plus, their new promotion is Demon Time. Yes, you can now win up to 100 times your money with as little as 4 correct picks, turning $10 into $1,000. They've got demons and goblins. That is the most exciting way now to play at PrizePicks. The squares marked with the red demons or the green goblins will get you different payouts. You can also now win up to 100 times your money with as little as 4 correct picks. And PrizePicks even offers injury insurance. If someone gets injured in the first half, doesn't return in the second half, well, that pick is just done. Like, they don't count that anymore, and the rest of your picks stay live. And PrizePicks is the only DFS platform that has that injury insurance policy. So go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNBA and use the code LockedOnNBA for a first deposit match up to $100. That is prizepicks.com/LockedOnNBA. The code is LockedOnNBA for a first deposit match up to $100. PrizePicks, pick more, pick less. It is that easy. Today's episode is also brought to you by Robinhood. Did you know that even if you have a 401k for retirement, you can still have an IRA? Robinhood has the only IRA that gives you a 3% boost on every dollar that you contribute when you subscribe to Robinhood Gold. But get this, now through April 30th, Robinhood is even boosting every single dollar that you transfer from other retirement accounts with a 3% match. That is right, no cap on the 3% match. Robinhood Gold gets you the most for your retirement thanks to their IRA with a 3% match. This offer is good through April 30th. Get started at robinhood.com/boost. Subscription fees apply. And now for some legal info. Claim as of Q1 2024 validated by Radius Global Market Research. Investing involves risk including loss. Limitations apply to IRAs and 401ks. 3% match requires Robinhood Gold for 1 year from the date of first 3% match. Must keep Robinhood IRA for 5 years. The 3% matching on transfers is subject to specific terms and conditions. Robinhood IRA available to US customers in good standing. Robinhood Financial LLC, member SIPC, is a registered broker dealer. Let's hit some other buy lows and sell highs now. Or sell highs. Stop saying sell high, Josh. Players trending down. The headmaster, Jamal Murray. Is he trending down? Yes. He's the 22nd ranked player over the last 2 weeks, 29th on Yahoo, averaging 44 fantasy points, which is good for 21st over that time frame. How has he been doing? Well, let's have a look. 24.5 points, 4 rebounds, 8 assists, 2.7 triples with a steal. Hitting 54 from the field, 49 from 3, and 71 from the line. So first of all, 71 from the line is going to come up. He's at 84 for the season, so that can counter some of this. But he's also just incendiary with his shooting. 49% from 3. He's at 42 for the season, which is obviously awesome. He was at 40 last season, 41 the year before that. 42 is reasonable. 41 is reasonable. 49 is not. That will come down. The 2-point percentage is also high, 57% from 2. He was at 49 last season, 52 the year before that. He's at 52 this season. It is going to cool way off. He's also averaging 8 assists. And you'll say, well, he's a point guard. He can average assists, and he's been good, 6.6. But 6.6 to 8 assists is a big difference. It's basically a 25% increase. Maybe a little bit less. It's around that mark. It's a big jump. It's hard to maintain 8 assists. He's never done that before. So there are some very clear indicators here for Jamal that he is going to fall away. That shooting will fall off. The 2-point numbers will fall off. The assists will drop off as well. And then he goes, but yeah, his free throws will improve. But he will not maintain a run as a top 25 player through your fantasy playoffs would be my expectation. Let's go to Washington. Let's go to the future MVP, Kyle Kuzma, who at the moment is maybe putting up some MVP type numbers for your fantasy squad. Kuzma, despite the criticisms of his game, has actually been awesome this season. Top 75 player in category leagues. Top 50 over the last 2 months, even with some of his deficiencies. But he's taken that to a new level. He's 26th in -1 over the last 2 weeks. 21st on Yahoo ranks. He's 12th in points leagues. Now, he's doing all of this with hilarious outcomes when you watch the game. He's a bad team, big stats maven. He's a legend at it, and he might be one of those guys who does that his whole career. That's reasonable. But there's just a few things here that probably won't hold. He's at 27 points a game with 8 rebounds and 4.6 assists. They're absolutely elite counting stats. Absolutely elite. He's hitting 2.5 threes with 1.3 blocks and 0.6 steals. Cool. He's hitting 50 from the field, 38 from 3, and 78 from the line. And if you know Kyle Kuzma, all that screams fake. He's at 60% true shooting over the last 7 games. Do you want to hear something funny? What's his true shooting for the season? 54.8. What was his true shooting last season? 54.4. What was his true shooting the year before that? 54.7. Do you want to know what his true shooting was the year before that? 54.6. So he's gone 54.6, 0.7, 0.4, 0.8 the last 4 years. And now, the last 7 games, he's at 60. So yeah, there is going to be a drop somewhere here. He's hitting 38% from 3, He's at 34 for the season. You know where he was last season? 33. You know where he was the year before that? 34. So 38% from three is not high for everybody. It is for this man. And he's also decided now he's going to block shots. He's at 0.7 blocks for the season, which is a career high. He was at 0.5 last season. Oh, it's not career high, sorry. It's up there. 0.5 last season, 0.9 the year before that. Now, over the last 7 games, he's at 1.3. How? Well, he's blocked 2 shots in each of the last 2 games. 4 blocks in the last 2 games. That's double your normal block rate. It's not going to hold. That's not going to hold. The shooting's not going to hold. The free throws aren't going to hold. The true shooting's not going to hold. Are the 4.6 assists going to hold? They might. Is he going to play out the season? I don't know. He loves putting up stats. He loves losing. He loves putting up stats. But there is going to be a fall off here. There's going to be a reckoning. He's not going to be an unrosterable player, but he is going to fall off from where he is at the moment. I feel pretty confident about saying that. Let's go to New Orleans. Let's go to Kenneth Murphy III. Because the big fella is absolutely dominating. Now, Trey has had a bad year as a general rule. He has struggled for most of the season, and I had some worries about him this season. How does he get enough usage? Because the way he was able to roll last season was playing 38 minutes a night and having Zion and Ingram out. And that hasn't been the case. But he is flying. 28th over the last 2 weeks, 23rd on Yahoo, 42nd in fantasy points. Mind you, he's not a top 130 player this season. 22.8 points, 5.7 rebounds, 3 assists. He's hitting over 5 threes a game. He's getting a steal a game. He's hitting 55 from the field, 49 from 3, and 71 from the line. Now, he's a better shooter than 71 from the line. He was 91 last season. That can very easily jump up. But no matter how good we think he is as a shooter, and we do think he's an excellent shooter, you're not a 50% three-point shooter, my guy. That's just not possible, nor are you a 77% two-point shooter, which is what is going on at the moment. He was at 61 from 2 last season. He's at 61 from 2 this season. That's reasonable. 77 is not. Neither is running at 50% from 3. And that is what is fueling this. That is what is fueling the scoring. That is what is fueling the 5.3 threes a game. That is what's giving him probably an extra minute or 2 a game, and definitely giving him extra shots because he's running at 23 usage as well, when for the year he's at 19. They are just looking, man, this bloke's hot. Give him the ball. And at some point, he won't be hot. And I would guess that leads to the ball not being in his hands as much. And that leads to this top 20, sort of top 30 ranking falling back to 100th or 110th or whatever. But he's absolutely dominating at the moment. There is huge numbers. I was not seeing this, and I was like, yep, I think I had him and I dropped him. I was like, he's just not doing anything. He's like 140th ranked player. He's giving us nothing. Too much up and down production. Dyson Daniels went out, which helps him, and then he just went hot. He increased 2-3 extra minutes into one of the best shooting streaks that anyone has had this season. And he's flying, and I was wrong on that. I also don't think there's any spot at all, any chance that any of this stuff holds. There's just no way because, again, no one can be a 50% three-point shooter with 77 from 2 as a long-term thing. You can't do it. Impossible. Not going to happen. Last guy is Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, who is also on a nice little run. KCP has been a unrosterable points league player this season. He's been a back-end category league player who's a steals specialist, and now he's putting together a very, very nice hot streak. 54th over the last 2 weeks in -1 ranks, 44th on Yahoo, averaging 26 fantasy points, which is 122nd. So even though he's putting up really good category ranks, it still shows you how bad he is as a points league guy. Still just 26th. He's averaging 12, 2.5, and 3. So the value's not in that. He's at 2.7 triples, 1.8 steals, and 0.8 blocks. Oh, there it is. 52 from the field, 53 from 3, and hasn't missed a free throw. Not many attempts, 6 of 6 over the last 2 weeks. But it's the threes. He's not missing. 53% from 3. He's at 40% from the season. He was at 42 last year. He was at 39 the year before that. He was at 41 the year before that. Safe to say, he's an elite three-point shooter. He's not 53, and that's going to bring everything down. He's also at 1.8 steals. Now, he was at 1.5 last year, 1.1 the year before that. He's at 1.3 this season. His steal numbers are through the roof. His last 6 games, 3-1, 2-3, 1-1 steals. He's also had 2 two-block games in the last 4, which have obviously floated his numbers way up. He's a great steal streamer. He's giving you nice threes, but it's wholly unsustainable. Wholly unsustainable. Schedule stream, specialist category stream, points league schedule stream as well. None of this stuff has a realistic shot of being able to carry over and be a consistent thing for KCP. And that brings us to the end of something that isn't a buy low, sell high show. It's a fantasy trend show. Is anyone you think should have been on the downward slope who thinks going to bump up? Anyone you think that's going too high and is going to fall off? Let me know down in the comments. Or tell me, do you have any of these 10 players on your team? Remember, if you've got the buy low guys on your team, it's good. That means they're going to improve most likely. If you've got the guys that are sell high, then you must prepare for a situation where they don't give you the same numbers when you move forward. Be prepared for that. Also be prepared to just give me a quick thumb and ring the bell and leave your comments. Subscribe, 5-star the audio, double bang it, of course. We want a double bang. Go and do that, guys. We are done here. Thank you so much for listening, everyone. See ya.